To Baltimore to learn more about the gunman, and Ben, records show as a child he underwent mental health treatment.
Tanika, let me set the scene for you. I'm here in downtown Baltimore. The Inner Harbor is behind me. Over to my right are the townhomes where David Katz lived with his father. That's also where the FBI and ATF were yesterday in a raid after the shooting at the Jacksonville landing. Now, here's the latest information from Baltimore. Number one, we now know he spent in a mental health facility about 10 years ago as a child. Number two, we found out that he was part of a bitter custody fight between his mother and his father over the years. And number three, we found out as well that he attended the University of Maryland College Park. That's about 1 hour away from where I'm standing right now. And I spoke to some students there today about the school's connection via this shooting and how they feel about it. 24-year-old David Katz was a professional gamer from Baltimore who police say went on a shooting rampage at a tournament at the Jacksonville landing on Sunday, killing 2 and injuring 11 before turning the gun on himself.
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, that's awful.
Thomas Pitzel is a student at the University of Maryland College Park. According to this tweet from the school president, it says, quote, "I've been informed that the alleged gunman in yesterday's tragedy in Jacksonville attended the University of Maryland previously, but was not enrolled this semester." A school spokesman told the Baltimore Sun Katz enrolled in September 2014 and majored in environmental science and technology.
I'm surprised anybody in society can, go to a university, be around a lot of normal, well-adjusted people and turn out that way.
Both Katz's parents are highly educated. His father is an electrical engineer at NASA, and his mother is a PhD. I went to her home and there was no answer, but a neighbor accosted me.
Knocking on the door? Really?
Meantime, Action News Jax obtained a divorce court filing by his parents in 2018 that said Katz had, quote, significant medical problems and needs, but it did not go into details beyond that. And also, I want to tell you about some of the Maryland gun laws because, as we've told you, that the shooter was able to get 2 guns legally in Maryland. I spoke to an attorney in the past hour. He tells me the gun law was changed in 2013 in Maryland. You have to take an 8-hour course to get a handgun here. Also, it requires a background check and fingerprints. So as of now, our understanding is that David Katz was able to obtain this gun legally through these measures. An 8-hour course, a background check, and fingerprints. Now, coming up all new at 6, I speak to a neighbor here at this townhome who tells me they're not surprised about the news they heard today from yesterday about David Katz being involved in this shooting. Reporting live in downtown Baltimore, Ben Becker, CBS 47, Action News Jax.
Okay, so y'all just heard that clip right there, and I can understand if y'all probably rolled your eyes as you was listening to it because I damn near did the same thing. But the reason why I have this collage of pictures of him up is because if you look at each and every last one of these pictures, not one of them did he look remotely normal, especially like right here. This is probably the oldest picture. This is his senior picture, and he just looked off. Like if you was to see him just like walking down, he remind me of? He reminds me of Lurch from the Addams Family, just a little less pale. But anyway, the only thing that was truthful in this entire segment was them talking about under Maryland law how you obtain a gun. How do I know this? Because that 8-hour course they were talking about, I took that course. Probably not where he took it, but I took that course, and it was an 8-hour course where you had to sit there and, take a test and all types of stuff, the background check, get the fingerprints, and then you can get your HQL, which is handgun qualifying license. Now, in the state of Maryland, they don't have open carry unless you take a special type of class, or if you are in law enforcement, or if you have money to pay for that, and that costs a lot of money. So technically, legally, as long as I have my HQL, I can own a handgun in my house that is a legal firearm, and I can transport it, but it has to be in a case, and the case has to be in the trunk of my car. And the only time it can be exposed is if I'm going to the range or something like that. And it has to be a registered firearm, the other legalities as well. But when they were talking about him having this mental illness, I already knew it was coming. I was just ready for them to actually say something. I'm surprised they didn't come out with it as soon as possible. It took them like a day for them to dig all of this up. and saying that he was in a mental facility 10 years ago, which means if he was 24, he was 14 when he was in that mental facility 10 years ago, which would have been 2008. And they just allowed him to legally acquire a handgun, knowing damn well he had mental issues. I question the people who gave him the gun, because usually they'll ask you on something like that, do you have any mental disabilities? I know they ask you on job applications, do you have mental disabilities? Because that determines on where they place you, should they hire you. Of course, they're going to try to hire you because they don't want to discriminate. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, well, if he had a mental illness, then that contributed to what he did. No, I'm not going to let that just slide. Because there's a lot of people with mental disabilities who are not going out here and just shooting shit up because they lost in a goddamn video game. And it, like I said, is just very ironic that the first person he killed happened to be Eli Clayton, who was black. And I heard that he had lost to some other people there. And you know what's so crazy? I had saw on a website yesterday when I was looking up information about this story, and they interviewed 3 people. All 3 of them were black men. One was like the host of the event, one was a contestant, and I think one was just a spectator. Now, how ironic is that? I'm not saying that it was mostly black people there, but we know that black people love 2 games, Madden and 2K, which is the NBA. Those are 2 sporting games that black people, especially black males, love to play and will run out to get. If they don't play any other game, they'll play that. It's like, if you think about it, when you go back, like when you think about when you was in school and they ask you what games they like, the black guy or the black kid will say, oh, 2K or Madden. They may say some other games, but the majority would say 2K or Madden. And this is money on the line too, because it was a tournament. And I think the top prize was like $5,000 in an invitation to like the big championship or tournament out in California, where I think the prize is like over maybe around $50,000. I would be mad if I lost too, but guess what? I wouldn't be mad to the point where I go and shoot up a damn tournament because I lost. That's beyond being a sore loser. Now, another thing that stuck out to me is the fact that it mentioned that he lived in a condo with his dad. And on the news clip, it showed the condo. The condo looked pretty damn nice. So that means he comes from money. They said his dad is an electrical engineer and his mom is a PhD. We're talking about 2 people who make 6 figures a year. Combined, that's millionaire money right there. Damn near. Now, from the sounds of it, it says divorce battle, so the parents are no longer together. And when the reporter said he knocked on the house, he was talking about the mother's house. She lives in the house. The dad lives in a condo, and he lived with the dad. See, there's so many things that really come into play here, into perspective with this particular incident. But I am not going to sit here and allow that bullshit mental illness to come into play. You want to know what's so funny? And I wish I had mentioned this in my previous video. The WHO organization, the World Health Organization, remember, they took transgenderism out of their book and replaced it with gaming as a disorder. Do you know what that's going to mean to the gaming community who does this on a professional level? They're going to try to say, oh, well, because this happened at this gaming event, we're going to do screenings of everybody who participates before we even let them through the goddamn door to see if they are mentally inept to even compete, because we're not going to have a repeat of what happened down in Jacksonville. Wouldn't that be something? And if you don't pass said screening test, you're not allowed to participate. That means now it's going to infringe on their rights and it's going to fuck with their money and their income, because this is their livelihood. See, it all has a domino effect. It all has a trickle down effect. Watch, that's what they're going to try to do. If they don't do it, they are going to try. Just because they want to take precaution because of what this monster did. That's all I have to say right now as it pertains to this story, but something tells me I might be talking about some more stuff again. I mean, I already know they're going to try to go the mental illness route. They love to do that. And I realize they do this with damn near all white killers. Whether it is a boy or a girl, a man or a woman, old, young, somewhere in between, tall, short, whatever. They love to throw that they have a mental illness in there to excuse what they did. And if it was a black person who's a victim like Eli Clayton, they're going to really lay it on thick. And like I said, then you have to deal with them gun control people, but I ain't worried about them. I said they can scream to the high heavens and that shit ain't going to change. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be down below. I'll talk to you in the next one.